What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Erlyn, and welcome. If you have not subscribed, feel free to press the subscribe button down below. Anyways, so I originally wanted to make a video of all the books that I've read so far, but that's a lot, and that would take a lot of time. So I decided to narrow it down to tell you my 5-star reads this year. We're just gonna get right into it. We're going to start off with the book that started it all for me. So I've always been a reader. I loved reading ever since I was a kid. I kind of stopped doing it for a while. So there's one book that I owe everything to because it sparked my interest in books again. And yeah, after reading this one book, that made me just go crazy on reading again. And so that's by Colleen Hoover. I'm sure if you're like a regular book talker or I don't know, regularly look for videos on YouTube about books, you've probably heard of Colleen Hoover. Yeah, I saw it on TikTok and I saw it a bunch of times, and I was like, you know what, we were going on a trip to Tofino and I was like, I kind of want to have a book to read. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I actually did. I ended up reading the book in one day. Yeah, it was just so good. It's a very, very deep romance. I think it's very different from what I was originally used to. Like, I've always really liked romance. It's always been my favorite genre, but this one was like romance, but it was like realistic, like deep in the gut romance. And it definitely was one of the very first books to break my heart and then glue it all back together by the end of the book. So basically it follows the story of a girl named Lily. It's really interesting because it's like past and present perspective. So you kind of go back and forth with her present life and her present relationship with this guy named Ryle. And you get a little glimpse of her past with her first love named Atlas, and kind of her childhood and the relationship of her parents. I would definitely look into trigger warnings though. There are a few in here before you start. I would definitely advise you to do that. But it was beautifully written. I loved the characters. I still, to this day, I read this in August, and I still, to this day, think about the characters. I think about the story. It will forever have a special place in my heart. So the next one, I'm not going to go in order by how I read them, because I don't really remember at this point. But I do have another Colleen Hoover book, so we're going to talk about that. The second Colleen Hoover book that I gave a 5-star is Ugly Love. This one is also, like a lot of Colleen Hoover books, if you've read her before or if you've heard about her before, she does, it really just punches you in the heart. They're very like deep love stories. They're not just, those typical cheesy romance stories. There's definitely romance, but there's like more rawness and more realness in these stories. And so this story follows Tate and Miles. And Tate, she moves in with her brother Corbin in San Francisco, and so she ends up meeting Corbin's best friend, who also happens to be his like neighbor, like front neighbor in this like apartment building. So she's like automatically attracted to him, and he's automatically attracted to her, but he's like so closed off. Kind of like it ends with us. It goes from present perspective to past perspective, but the only difference is the present perspective is Tate's perspective. Does that make sense? I'm saying perspective so much. And then the past is Miles's perspective. So it kind of goes back and forth from chapter to chapter. So in the present, Tate describes like her feelings towards Miles, and like how resistant he is, and how like, what's the word they use? Not resist, I guess resistant. Like he's so, oh yeah, he's so guarded. So Tate in the present talks about like, there's definitely attraction there between them. There's definitely chemistry, but he's so guarded, and she has no idea why, like what's going on. But then the past perspective of Miles, he kind of goes into explaining why he's so guarded. Like as you read the chapters, in the past, he talks about his first girlfriend, his first love, and just like the way he like talks about her is just so sweet. Like I love it. They are just the sweetest, and he's just the sweetest. And then once you find out the plot twist Like, again, if you've read any Colleen Hoover, if you are familiar with Colleen Hoover, you know that there's going to be a plot twist that you just do not expect to come. So the plot twist in this was just insane. I just bawled my eyes out. It's just a super sad but beautiful love story, and yeah, I think it's just so good. I really also like this cover because it's matte, and yeah, it's just nice. Anyways, Colleen Hoover is like one of my favorite authors at this moment. So, and she's really popping this year. Like, so many people are just, yeah, anyways.
Hello, editing Erlyn here. I just realized that I filmed this video like pretty early on. I'm wearing the same sweater, just by chance. I swear I washed it. I filmed this video back in like November, I think. So I ended up reading another book by Colleen Hoover actually, and it's called All Your Perfects. I'm not gonna take it out because it's there, and it's just gonna be too much work to try and take it out. I'm just gonna post like a thing here of what it looks like. Another great book from her, and it also, just like the other two that I mentioned, were it was like a past and present perspective, and it basically talks about the story of, oh my god, what are their names? I don't even remember their names. I know the husband's name is Graham. God, I don't remember the girl's name. I might just insert it. Here somewhere, but it basically talks about this couple, and so you kind of journey with them to see when they first met. And when they first met, it was like such a weird situation, but they kind of bonded through it, and so that's the past, and just like how they like fall in love with each other basically. So it's like super sweet, super cute. And then in the present, in the next chapter, it jumps into the present where they're like married for 7 years and they're having issues with their marriage, and the marriage is falling apart, and it just is so sad and so heartbreaking. Like, I read this book, I think I read it in like a day or two, and I was literally bawling my eyes out the whole time. Like, I knew these people personally. There is, I would say, some trigger warnings as well, so definitely look those up. But yeah, like, definitely another 5-star read, and I will continue to recommend it for as long as I live. Thank you. That is all. And you can go back to the video now.
So the next 5-star read is People We Meet on Vacation. I didn't actually really expect to like this book this much, but yeah, it's really good. It's also a romance, but it's definitely not as deep as the last two that I mentioned. It follows the story of Poppy and Alex. They were best friends. They met in college, and she's kind of this like travel blogger, and they would travel together. Until one year something kind of went down, and you don't really find out what happened between them until like later on in the book. It's also past and present perspective. So from chapter to chapter, it talks about the present vacation that they're going on, and then past vacations that they're going on, until you get to the point where you find out what kind of went down, why they stopped talking. So yeah, they kind of had a fall. Was it really falling out? Kind of, I guess.
Sorry, editing Erlyn here again, and I just want to apologize. I'm so bad at explaining these books, so I would suggest like looking them up on Goodreads, but sometimes also like going into books, it's nice to like kind of go into them blindly and just knowing like the brief stuff of it. So maybe you're that kind of person and you like that, but I apologize. This is my first book video. I'm hoping to post more, and I'll probably be better. So sorry.
Something kind of happened for them to lose contact, and in the present they hadn't been talking for 2 years or something like that, and and then she just like goes out on a whim and invites him to go on vacation with her again, and he says yes. And so it's basically the story of their present vacation and their past vacations, and then you find out kind of what went on between them that kind of caused this like riff in their friendship. It's like super sweet, and I think it's also super realistic, and it's just, it's really good. I love it. I was very surprised that I really liked this book, but yeah, definitely 5 out of 5 for me. My next 5 out of 5 is also another, is also another romance book. It's also one that is pretty heavy. I don't remember if there are trigger warnings. I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so, but I mean, it doesn't hurt to check, to Google it before you read it. Yeah, this book is also another one of the books that will have a special place in my heart, and ones that I still think about. I still sometimes go through my little tabs to see my favorite parts, and definitely one of the books that I would be reading again and again and again and recommending again and again and again. It's just so good. It follows the story of, I forgot her name. I forgot her name. Bree. I knew it started with a B. So it follows the story of Bree, who kind of had a very something very tragic happened in her life that caused her to decide to move to this small town place in Maine. And that's where she runs into Archer, who is also this very um she runs into Archer, who is this super mysterious man, who's also kind of gone through his own very traumatic experiences. Yeah, so they run into each other. He doesn't speak to her when they run into each other, so it kind of intrigues her more, and it makes her curious, who is this man. So she kind of asks around the neighborhood, who is he? Yeah, she's just very curious about him. And then later on, she finds out who he is, and she's just super intrigued, and she wants to be friends with him. So they start becoming friends and stuff like that. But then it kind of obviously escalates to more because it's a romance. But their story, they are able to help each other heal, and it's just the most beautiful thing. It's just so cute. It starts off so innocent, just wanting to be friends, and then the whole natural falling for each other, and along the way they help each other with their traumas, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful book that I would recommend to literally anybody. It's super sweet, and yeah, I love this. Love that one. Okay. The next one is kind of like a romance. It's yeah, no, not really. There's a little hint of romance in it, but it's definitely not the main point of the book. It is a young adult fiction. It's actually a trilogy, but only 2 of the books have come out. The third one is coming out next year sometime. Also, by far, they are my nicest books. Look at this cover. Isn't it? This cover. So this is the first book, The Inheritance Games. And this is the second book. The cover is insane. I also love it because it's matte, and it's so pretty. The first in the trilogy is The Inheritance Games, and it follows the story of Avery, and she's very poor. She's living out of her car, and just, trying to live her best life, trying to eventually graduate high school so she can go to college, trying to get some scholarships and stuff like that. She basically gets told she needs to come to this place to hear a reading of a will of this man who just recently passed away. And she's kind of a little iffy. She's like, what the heck? I don't know this man. Why would I need to be there? But she ends up going with her sister. And she finds out at the reading of the will that this man left his inheritance to her. And so she's even more confused. Yeah, you basically follow her story and trying to figure out what is my connection with this man? Why did he give all this money and all this possessions to me? And he has always been one to play games with his grandsons and stuff, so little riddles and stuff like that. So he's left them all a game to try and figure out the connection to why he left her the inheritance. And it's so interesting. There's all these puzzles within the house, and just, yeah, just the journey, like you get to journey with them to try and figure out like what's going on. And it's just the coolest thing. And she kind of, yeah, I said there was like a little bit of romance in it. I am on Team Jameson, so yeah, if you've read this, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you should pick it up because it's so good. It really kept me on my toes like the whole time. And as soon as I finished this book, I had to get the second book. Like I legit walked in the rain to the bookstore to get the second book because I needed to know what was going to happen next. So the next book is The Hawthorne Legacy. I mean, the premise is pretty much the same. Basically, you find out a little bit more in the first book, and then you find out a little bit more on the second book, and then I guess for the third one's not out yet. I have no idea what it's about. I'm sure that I would love it just as much as the other ones, but I guess the final book is called The Final Gambit, so I think that's kind of where everything will tie in together. But these two just by itself, even without knowing exactly why he chose her still, like you don't even really know yet, but I've already given them 5 out of 5. Like they're so good. Yeah, there's also the characters, all the characters in here are also super like lovable. They're characters that I still think about to this day as well. They're just so great. I love it. It kind of gives me like, I don't know, it kind of gives me like not really Hunger Games vibes. Like when I first picked it up though, I kind of was like, oh, it's kind of like the Hunger Games because it has the word games in it. Yeah, anyways, the last set of books is actually also a trilogy, and I've only read the first 2 books. So those books are A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and Good Girl, Bad Blood. So this book follows the story of Poppy. She's a senior in high school and she has to do this project. So for her project, she decides to look into this murder case that happened in her town. It was very, I gave this a 5 out of star. 5, why do I keep saying that? I gave this a 5-star because it really just kept me on my toes. Like throughout the whole book, she has like, it kind of goes into detail about like her case notes and stuff like that, which I thought was really cool. And she always has like a persons of interest. She always has a persons of interest list at the end of her like case notes, and all like the more people that she interviews, the more things that she finds out. Like I was just on my toes. I was like, oh my god, it could be this person or it could be that person. So I was kind of like really into the story and trying to figure out who actually did it, what actually happened in this case. Like it was so interesting, and it just like really made me feel like I was like there also trying to figure this out with her. And yeah, it was so good. There was a huge plot twist. Maybe not huge, but there was a plot twist and I definitely wasn't expecting it for sure. But yeah, there is also, I would say, like maybe some trigger warnings in here. So I would look that up. Yeah, it was really good. It really just kept me on my toes and low key like scared when I was walking home from work. The next book, it does follow the same character, but it's a different story. So this one is Pip. Oh, what did I say her name was? Did I say her name was Poppy? Her name is Pippa, by the way. Yeah, that is her name. So yeah, this one also follows the story of Pippa, but instead she is not doing a project anymore. She's actually started a podcast. So I actually really liked this because it was interesting because it had like, let me show ya. It has like pictures. It has like pictures and like not like freaking comic books or anything like that. And there's nothing wrong with comic books if you like comic books, but I'm saying it's not like that kind of stuff. But it just goes through like this part right here when it shows you like this piece of evidence that they find. Like it'll show you pictures and it's really like you're there trying to help her figure it out. So basically the story of this is one of her really close friends comes up to her and lets her know, hey, my brother's missing and the police aren't doing anything about it right now. They are classifying it as like a low risk, so it's not like a major thing for them to try and find this guy. She helps them try and figure out all these things. So it's kind of the same premise, like it's kind of the same idea where she, talks to his friends, tries to see tries to see what you can find out from there. And yeah, like it's so interesting. Again, it just kept me on my toes. I ended up reading, I started out this book off pretty slow only because I was like in the middle of doing like school stuff. And then once I like got really into it, I just like kept going until the very end. But it was, yeah, it's so good. And it just really felt like you, again, like it really felt like I was there trying to figure this out, trying to piece the puzzle together with Pip. Yeah. Okay, so today is 12/22, December 31st. I just finished the last book in the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. I'm not gonna get it, but it's up there. As Good as Dead, and I just wanted to sneak that in here for my little 5-star reads this year because it was definitely a 5-star read.
Hello, editing Erlyn again. I just realized I never actually talked about the last book in the series. It's called As Good as Dead, and it was just like a nice little wrap up to the series. So it basically, again, obviously follows Pip, and this time something happens to her. She has to try and figure out how to deal with it and how to yeah, I guess figure it out. Like she's getting like lots of threatening I guess it's kind of threatening messages and stuff from people or from someone, and so it kind of journeys on to like trying to figure out who's doing that and like what happens with her. But I think it ties in the previous cases that she deals with in the first two. So it was a nice little wrap up. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I'm gonna say. But it was really good. You should get it. You should read it. Goodbye. You can go back to the video now.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I really wanted to talk to you guys about books and stuff because I don't have anybody else to talk to about books, because every time I try to talk to my family about books, they just tell me to shut up and they don't want to hear it. So might as well just talk to myself in front of a camera and hope that some people can relate and want to listen to me talk about books. I'm gonna go. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening to me rant about all my favorite books that I've read this year. If you like this video, make sure you click the like button. I don't actually know where it is. Make sure you click the like button, subscribe for more videos. I do think I really enjoy talking about books, so I'm definitely going to do more book recommendation videos for sure. Yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day. See ya.